What's up, Soul Family? Coming at you with an Oracle card pull this time. This time I'm going to channel a message based off of whatever card we pull and the advice given from it and the theme from there. But let's jump right in. We're going to be using the Beyond Lemuria deck. And we have Earth, which is one of the first cards. Funny enough, when I opened this deck up, this is the card that was on the bottom of the deck. And I kept on looking at it and I'm like, huh, interesting. So I always find it funny when that happens, so to speak. Alright, so I'm going to do my best to read this in like one cohesive go. So, Earth, nature or nurture nature. Looking after the planet, the ebb and flow of life, the loving embrace of Mother Nature, the natural beauty of death and decay, the microcosm, time in nature, ancestors grow through weathering storms, nurturing self and your heart so you may flourish. I guess those are like the keywords associated. My bad, I guess I should have disclaimed that, but I guess we're going through this together. And I get it. Like, there are so many Oracle decks that I have, it's impossible for me to know all these meanings just by nature. And I could just read this off screen, or I could just go through it with you guys. And I feel like kind of reading it's a little bit more, I don't know, the vibe in the moment, so. No one can hold us the way that nature can. Mama Nature is a powerful healer and transmuter of dense energies we may be holding on to. Just as she takes in our out breath and returns our bones to fertile soil, so can she transform our woes if we allow ourselves to surrender, to lie in her grassy arms or to be embraced by her branches. Just as plastics and oils cannot be broken down in the earth for renewal, when our emotions become hardened and impenetrable, catalyzed into something more destructive, they cannot be transformed into the compost that we grow from. Experiences we may categorize as good or bad are a part of life. Death and rebirth are a part of the natural cycle that allows the continuation of life. Creating something through suppression and control that will not break down will only bring us further out of harmony. Nature is all around us. Notice her, and now, no, oh my God. Notice her and know that when you feel like no one else can hold you, she can. Spend as much time in nature as possible and do what you can to preserve it. Blah, so many fuck ups, but I feel like why hide the mistakes sometimes? You know, I feel like sometimes, yeah, edit the video, but sometimes we're human. So then the themes for this are going to be grounding, finding our roots, reliability, physical healing, nurture, solid foundations, fertility for whoever's trying to get pregnant, and vitality. So I can definitely agree with this. I think that's one of the more interesting things that we tend to see in media is where somebody who is a hero versus a villain might have undergone the same experiences. One might have transmuted it to the better, whereas one might have allowed that to become something that shifts them to the not so positive. Think about somebody like Thanos. He went through trauma. Instead of trying to snap and create life, this man thought it'd be a good idea just to take out half of the creation. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes we go through traumatic things, and it's always a matter of how we, or the perspectives that we gain from those traumas. And I'm not necessarily saying that it's easy. I'm not saying it's right that we go through things. I'm not saying our soul should or shouldn't pick the difficulty of whatever challenges or trials or whatever things we go through. But what I am saying is what we go through and how we respond to it is what makes us us. That is how we are determined, not by the things that we go through, but by our responses to it and who we become as a result of that. In the last video, I mentioned how I've gone through like a lot of traumatic things, and I always tell people, and I really, and maybe it's my own belief that's being played out, but I really do think the fact that I come across as very kind can come across as being naive to individuals, when in reality, it's really just the fact that I do not want to allow I remember when I first started working, and somebody saw my personality, and one of the things that I will never forget is they're like they said, oh yeah, that'll change in a couple years after I've worked, I guess, in society for however long. And I think ever since I've heard that, I've made it an adamant point of mine not to allow the shitty things that I've gone through and the experiences and the bitterness of other individuals to be to determine how I treat other people. I've made it my goal not to allow my trauma to harden my heart and to not allow myself to become somebody who doesn't allow my kindness and my love to show to individuals because of the fact that I might have been burned by other people and their own whatever the fuck they got going on. And I think that is the difference, because there are people who might have gone through the same thing that I might have gone through who allowed it to turn. I've seen people who've gone through less just to be completely honest. And I actually, let me not say that because I don't know what people go through, but I have seen people who've just turned into very hateful, bitter, angry people. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being angry because I have so much anger that I have towards whatever you want to call that force out there for whatever reason. You know, like we all have anger and reasons to be angry about things. But again, I think it's most important is how you deal with it and how you process it versus allowing it to become something that, you know, like the way that I explain to people when I do my clients whenever I have readings is King of Cups energy or Queen of Cups energy. It's like just because you have an intense emotion, how you deal with it is what matters. You can be very angry and want to bitch slap somebody, but if you didn't bitch slap somebody or shoot somebody, then I'd like to think by contrast that you handled your emotions fairly well. Just because you had an intense surge of an emotion and you didn't kill somebody, I think that that points towards how you handled it being better than the situation defining you or the fact that you felt that emotion defining you. So the point I'm trying to make is this life is difficult sometimes, but we have the choice and the ability to choose how we respond to things, even if it's not always fun, even if it's not always easy. We always do have a choice in how we respond to whatever experiences we are being presented. And that choice, the literal, that's like probably one of the biggest things we've been gifted by creation is the ability to have free will. That choice, I believe, is what defines us more than any circumstances that we might be going through. And we're human. We're gonna have times like where we slip up, where we might not necessarily be able to be at our best. And I think what matters most is in that exact same breath, not staying there, not allowing those moments to become what define us, and then responding to those moments with grace and compassion to ourselves, and then the ability to move forward from there. And then I think the other important aspect of this card was the nurture aspect. You can't grow a seed by continuing to put it under just sun alone, by just putting under fire and expecting it to grow. You have to give it love, you have to give it water, you have to put it under the right soil, you have to give it all the love and attention that's needed, and we as human beings are no different. So I think a lot of times we really do have to put intention behind pouring love into ourselves as we go through these physical experiences and as we go through trauma and as we collect all these things to sometimes maintain that level of love that we radiate outwards. Sometimes it's a matter of really being very intentional with how we approach things, and that's even regarding how we approach situations in which we feel like we might have had a shortcoming or failed or something along those lines. But either way, peace and blessings. I'm not sure if I said this already. Sometimes I do that and then I might not have edited it out. I hope I did. If I did, then here we are. But either way, peace and blessings. I hope you guys have a great night.